Major QB injuries. Minkah Fitzpatrick, not that Fitzpatrick off the Dolphins, traded to the Steelers, as well as Daniel Jones finally earning the start out there in New York, Drew. We got a lot to talk about as well as Thursday Night Football. Guys, welcome into Sports Around the Bar. I'm sure it's your favorite sports talk show. We know you're our favorite, so we're glad you're here with us. Welcome into episode 200. I didn't think we'd make 20, Drew.
Well.
How have we survived this long? How have we not been canceled? How has Facebook not canceled us? Send us a letter and said, not for us, thank you.
Well, we did give them the wrong address.
They've tried. Yeah, they've definitely tried. But, guys, we're glad you're here. We got a lot of news in the NFL today, man. What a crazy couple days. Just these past couple days, especially. It's been going wild in the NFL with all this news coming out.
It really has. I mean, obviously, your first thing is you're looking at the big hits at the quarterbacks with the Steelers and the Saints losing their starting quarterback, one for the whole season, one for a majority of the season. Changes up the playoffs a little bit, doesn't it?
Well, I was going to ask you that. How long can these teams float without their star quarterbacks? Do you think the Steelers can get back into contention? Do you think the Saints can get back and stay in contention, I suppose, with Teddy Bridgewater under center? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about more. But why don't we start with the primetime games from last week, Drew? Let's start with the Falcons and Eagles because this one surprised me. After last week, I was out on the Falcons. I was like, they're dead. I'm so tired of Matt Ryan. I'm so tired of this offense with all this talent that never does anything. And yet, here they are, man. They're back, and they look pretty good against the Eagles. And this is a Super Bowl caliber team they're playing against here.
Yeah, no, they looked really good, and I mean, that's something we said, that this team is going to rebound at some point.
The primetime games.
What's up, man? Glad you could join us. Chris says he sees the Mahomes Magic Crunch. You just need some OVOs on the bar now.
Yeah, guess who wanted to keep the cereal box on here for a second straight show?
You did.
Yeah, you're right. It was me. I just wish he was my quarterback. That's it.
That's what I thought you wanted.
Yeah. Well, good news is we're not talking about the Chiefs the rest of the episode. So, no, I'm kidding. We can talk about the Chiefs all day long. We can talk about how they might be the team to beat in the AFC or how there's two powerhouses and the rest of the NFL looks like it's not quite on par with them. We're not going to, but we could talk about it. Instead, Let's talk about the Falcons and the Eagles. These are two teams that hopefully stand a chance of beating them if either one of them finds a way to make it to the Super Bowl this year, right?
Right. I mean, let's start.
Will's on Tampa watch. I mean, they're 1-1, right? Tampa Bay, or are they 0-2? No, they beat the Panthers last Thursday. 1-1, tied for the lead in the division now. So look out, it's Tampa Bay's year. Even though we were saying they're going to finish fourth. Were we wrong on that one? Stay tuned to find out. Probably no.
Well, let's get into the Atlanta Falcons and that part of it. I think this was a big win for them. We obviously talked about that. It's something they need to take care of.
Howdy, Frank.
I know a lot of fans out there, especially on this show, were saying they need to win this game. This is a must-win. We were wrong. We took the Eagles.
And we changed our pick. We said Falcons in the offseason, Drew. We were clairvoyant. We said it doesn't matter. Week 1 doesn't matter. We're going Falcons week 2. And we backed off. We both couldn't pull the trigger and say the Falcons were going to get back on track.
Not after that atrocious start at the first. I mean, there's no way we saw... We thought the Eagles were going to play better. I mean, realistically, I think the Eagles kind of fell on this and on their own dagger and lost this game for them. Carson Wentz did not play that well, throwing 2 picks. But one thing I do want to get at about this game is both of these run games where we thought, both teams we thought was going to be fixed. You know, you got Freeman. He's going to be the main back, the cowbell. He's going to be the guy that's going to be getting the rock consistently. And then you had Jordan Howard going over the Eagles where, like, they finally got their stud. And listen to these yards per carry for each team. Eagles, 2.3 yards per carry. Falcons, 3.4 yards per carry. None of those are exciting.
Are you tired of seeing Miles Sanders getting all the carries and Jordan Howard kind of being his backup? Or do you think there's no... Do you think it matters?
No, I don't think it matters who runs the rock. In my opinion, Jordan Howard's the more talented running back so far. That's just because we haven't seen enough Miles Sanders yet. Mm-hmm. But... it's just both these teams are supposed to be figuring out their worrying woes on the ground, and so far it seems like nothing's fixed.
Definitely. Now, Jordan wants to know what we think about the Michigan State and Arizona State game from last week. We're going to talk a lot of college football tomorrow, but since it's Tuesday, I figure we'll hit it. I don't think I ever saw Sparty as a legit contender for the Big Ten. Big win for Arizona State. Again, Sparty, to me, they're missing, like, since they lost Kirk Cousins, they really haven't had a lot of answers here. I think the Big Ten was pretty open this year, but Ohio State looks dominant, man. It's almost their division to lose again, even with the new head coach and Ryan Day. So, tough loss for Sparty. Great win for Arizona State. Going forward, though, I don't know that either of these teams are winning their respective divisions or even going to be in the race.
Yeah, Steven's a little sour. He says he doesn't want to see that ugly cereal box on the bar, and he's rather look at a dog's butt. Well, your offense looked like a dog's butt.
He's also saying Buffalo. When was the last time we saw the Bills off to a 2-0 start?
Oh, well, Steven. I'm sorry, I said Steve. But
okay.
Steven's the one that said
See, I didn't get Steven's comment because, again, why would we both get the same comments? That would make too much sense.
That would only make sense. Steve is saying Buffalo. Pooks is saying, you guys, are we surprised that the...
Are we more surprised about the Bills or the 49ers going 2-0? I
can read.
That's okay. You got to say Bills. And that sounds harsh. I don't want to take anything away from the Bills. I don't want to say that was bad. But if you look at the games that the 49ers have played, yeah, Tampa Bay wasn't exactly the best win out there, but they did a pretty good job last week against Cincinnati, who looked pretty good in week one, especially against a team like the Seahawks. The 49ers came in and blew them out. So I would say 49ers a little bit, especially with the way the preseason was going. I think 49ers or the Bills is the bigger surprise when you look at the talent.
I think the Bills is more a surprise of the record, but I think the 49ers are more of a surprise with how they're playing.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Well, this week, they didn't look good against Tampa. They kind of bounced back for sure against Cincinnati. My question is, week 3, what are we going to see?
But my point is just the way that they came out and won that second week. I mean, dude, even the first game, they still played well. I mean, it wasn't great, but their run game was dominant, and then they switched to week 2, and it's their passing game. My point is that the way that this team is winning, it's showing a different. Each week, it can adapt properly to whatever the game is going on. The Bills seem to still be stuck in that rut where they have to play real tough defense, and their offense every now and then gets a little bit of spark where the defense can keep the score low enough and they win, which the Bills have been doing for the last 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. Steven, also Raiders fan here, says he's disappointed in the loss but happy with how his team fought until the end. His defense kept us in it other than the second quarter, and honestly, the defense played their hearts out, and he's happy to see them fight. I agree, man. Not many teams can hold the Chiefs scoreless 3 out of 4 quarters. Even if that second was really a meltdown, not many teams could have done that. They played fantastic, especially when you talk about them getting an early lead against a division rival like that. I would like to see the offense be a little bit stronger against what we still kind of consider to be a little underpowered defense, or at least I do. I know you might think they're stronger than I do. We've talked about that.
Derek Carr came out and said they're a great defense.
Well, that's what you got to say when they keep you to 10 points, right? You can't be like, man, we just suck. You can't say that, and I'm not saying they do suck, but you can't take that spin as a quarterback. You have to go out there and praise the other guy at that point.
They do it all the time. I don't know.
What's wrong with us? We're terrible, man. Give it up. Ship the season. Can't say that.
Steven, I know you didn't watch in on Sunday, man. Hopefully everything was good and you were just busy. But all I have is praises for the Raiders. You can go back and watch the episode and you hear me talk about it. I think the Raiders look absolutely great defensively. I think you have something to really hold your head up and be excited about. I mean, like he said, it's very impossible to hold the Chiefs to scoring only 1 quarter out of the whole game and holding us scoreless for the other 3. I mean, you held us to like 23, 28 yards the first quarter. I mean, you guys looked good. It seemed like, in my opinion, I don't mean to go back on this game, but just because you're here, I want to talk to you about it. It seemed like the first plays, defensively and offensively for the Raiders, were just right on key. And when Andy Reid had an opportunity to readjust to what your guys' game plan was, in a sense, you almost got out-coached. And that's not a knock on John Gruden. I think he's a great coach. That's what I saw in the second quarter. And then the adjustments happened at half, and then we both held each other, scoreless. It's interesting to see how that game went out. I know you probably watched every down like I did, and I only have praises for the Raiders. I think you guys got a bright future.
Now, Nathan says Jalen Ramsey to the Patriots. Any truth to that? Someone told him that it's true, but Andrew, Patriots fan here, says not true as of yet. Just a great quality meme. One thing I will say about this, in that situation, there's no way the Patriots are going to pay the asking price or the reported asking price of 2 first-round picks. They're going to let that value slip way down before they go and issue it. I could see the Patriots trading a first-round pick for Jalen Ramsey. The rich get richer, but then again, I can see a lot of teams giving up a first to go get him. Especially when you look at his age, yes, I know the attitude problems are there, but when you're talking about a first-round pick and you're on the cusp of winning a Super Bowl like Dallas, like the Eagles, like the Bears, Patriots, Chiefs, any one of those teams could realistically spend a first-round pick to say, even if you don't re-sign Jalen Ramsey, to say we can win with this guy. We are going to talk about him in a minute, though.
All I can say, Nathan, is I hope not. I hope not. Andrew says not true as of yet, just a quality meme.
Read that one too, but that's okay.
Well, I don't listen to you, so.
And Jordan says, what do we think of the Lions game last week? We did talk about extensively in the last episode. If you want more in-depth, it's there, but just really quick, huge win for the Lions. Typical letdown for the Chargers, letting someone in there, like the Lions that probably have a gap in talent between the Chargers and the Lions, hang around with them. This time it just bit them in the rear for the first time in a long time.
Yeah. Jonas says, do we think that the Patriots are favored to go to Super Bowl 54?
They have to be.
What year? Yeah. What year are the Patriots not favored?
You have to favor them to go there, but I think they're going to have stiff competition against the Chiefs this year. They did last year. If you could say they were a D4 penalty away from beating them. This year, it's going to be a great matchup. My question is going to be which one of those teams gets that home field advantage. It's going to be so crucial if they both make the AFC Championship again to get that home field and play in front of your fans.
Andrew's saying that the Lions are underrated.
I agree, but I don't think there's underrated as Ian has them saying they're going to go 12-4. But I think them signing Mike Daniels from the Packers. Sorry, I just tried to kill myself by swallowing down the wrong tube. I think them signing Mike Daniels next time maybe. Them signing Mike Daniels, bringing in Snacks Harrison from last year, signing Trey Flowers. That D-line is almost rebuilt. They have Darius Slay, great corner. They drafted a corner as well. That defense is, I don't want to say it's back yet, but they are bringing in pieces eventually. If they have another offseason like last year, we're going to be talking about the Lions having an identity and having a great defense. Stafford needs to play better. If you look at his errant passes, he was 5th worst in the NFL through the first 2 weeks. He needs to play better, but I think they need more weapons. I like Kenny Golladay, but I'm not afraid of Kenny Golladay. You don't circle that and say, how do we stop him like a Michael Thomas? They need a better receiver than what they have. I think Kenny Golladay is number 2 would be perfect for the Lions.
Steven, of course, wants Jalen Ramsey in a Raiders uniform. He said it would be insane for any. He said 2 first-rounders for any corner would be insane.
Yep,
he's up for Oakland giving up 1 just to get him, though. Would still have 1 for the extra this year. I said the same thing. Kansas City's name's floating around. Is he worth the first rounder? Absolutely. I don't even know if he's worth the first rounder and a second rounder right now. And that's because I don't know if any player outside of a quarterback is worth something like that. Not
right. I'm 100% in. No player is worth 2 first-round picks unless you're a quarterback.
And I'm even saying the second round.
Except Justin Tucker. I would give 2 first-round picks for Justin Tucker with as many field goals as my team kicks.
But that's not a knock on him. If Chiefs got Jalen Ramsey, I'd be super excited and be all for it. But I think any team would because he's arguably the best corner in the league. Pook says he heard Seahawks are in the mix. Seattle with Ramsey would be nasty. Pray he doesn't go to New England. I think everyone minus New England fans are praying that one.
Yep, and I did not mention them when I was talking about playoff teams, but they were a playoff team last year. I think they should 100% be in the mix to bring in Jalen Ramsey and hope that can get them over the hump. The problem is when you play the Rams that utilize that many receivers, bringing in one dominant corner doesn't, match up really well against them.
Yeah.
That would be good for like a team like the Saints that already have a great corner in Lattimore to put him across from him, and you can say we've got 2 great guys. We're okay in the slot. Maybe they do. Maybe the Seahawks do it, but I think they might be a little bit lower on the list than a lot of other teams here that say we need this one piece to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Agreed. Steven says you can't say they're underrated about the Lions when they blew a double-digit fourth quarter lead against Arizona.
This is the same team that threw 300 yards against the Ravens, and the Ravens are a great defense.
Before you go into that, I think another team that's offensively underrated is the Arizona Cardinals, but go ahead.
Exactly. They threw for 300 yards consecutive weeks with a rookie quarterback, new system. Was it a bad let go? Yeah, sure. They're not there yet, but I think underrated's fair because a lot of people think of this as a team that's going to win 4 games this year. I think the Lions, the way they're kind of recommitting themselves to the run with Kerryon Johnson, the way they're rebuilding this defense, are going to start creeping back into the conversation sooner than later. Even though I don't think Matt Patricia's a genius, I like some of the moves that they're making out there.
Yeah. I think we had all praises towards the Lions during the offseason with some of their moves and what they were doing. And we even liked their draft. We had a couple question marks, but it seems like so far that T.J. Hawkinson's going out pretty well as a tight end rookie. We questioned a little bit.
Well, week 2 is rough. Who said start him in fantasy? I'm still upset about it. We could have closed that 40-point gap, Drew, if we wouldn't have started the tight end like you said.
What did Njoku do?
I got hurt. That's what he did.
Yeah, okay. So yeah.
What did Hawkinson do? 1.2 points?
Hey, he was better.
Thanks for closing that gap for us. We almost had him.
It was your draft.
It was my draft, was it?
We're never going to agree on this one.
All right, fair enough.
As you guys all get, you're lucky that we had a team up. If we didn't have the team up, you would have saw Drew's team at the very top. Just sitting there.
Okay.
Sitting
TJ Hawkinson starting every week.
Sitting there 2-0. Beating everyone by 50 points. But instead, we're losing by 40 because Jake wanted to team up.
Yeah. Put it on me. That's okay. I'll take it. We already talked Eagles. Let's talk about the Browns and the Jets game here. Hard to talk about this game because the Jets were never really in it, right? As soon as Sam Darnold was announced to being out, they were already the underdogs because the Browns, everybody's Super Bowl pick, the sleeper team, look out for them. Nobody was picking the Jets anyway, and then their starting quarterback goes down, and then they lose their backup, Trevor Siemian, during the game, Drew. Terrible break for the Jets, pardon the pun. We were kind of talking about this. The biggest takeaway is Myles Garrett laying on too many cheap hits on quarterbacks?
I mean, it's the rumble with some radio analysis guys and radio voices throughout everything I heard and read that, the rumble is Myles Garrett plays dirty. We kind of looked some of those, highlights back up or hits. We kind of reviewed them and watched them together and kind of took it, out of the perspective of the whole game, because we sit there when we watch the game and we kind of forget about it and move on.
You're not focused on Myles Garrett.
Exactly. So now that we sat there and looked at those, all I could say is when I watch him play, it seems like he's trying to do so much for his team because he realizes what it means for him to succeed as a player on his defense. But that being said, is he giving too much heart to his team where he's hurting other players?
Well, I think they're cheap hits. But I don't think they're the kind of cheap hits that we saw Nakamada Suh do, like on Aaron Rodgers, where he's on the ground, he's like stepping on his knee and stuff like that.
Albert Hainsworth kind of scenario.
Right, exactly. And I'm not just picking on Nakamada Suh. It's not that kind of cheap hit where Albert Hainsworth is stomping on somebody's unhelmeted head.
Right.
But they're the kind of cheap hits you almost want to see as a defensive coordinator. He's hitting the quarterback, he's getting in his head, even though the ball is being released, that half beat later, he's still hitting the quarterback. I know the NFL is frowning on that, but if you're a defensive coordinator, it's what you want to see. You want to see them get in the opposing quarterback's head, and it's not late enough. You can point to it and say, this is a cheap hit, and it shouldn't be in the game. I mean, he's literally a beat behind. He's a step behind, and he's still slamming the guy to the turf. It's cheap, and if it's me and I'm the offensive coordinator, I'm telling my guard, hey, the tackle's going to go pick him up. You're going to go chop block his knee, and we'll see if we can hurt him. Or send the message that we're not going to let you get away with this. You take a 15-yard penalty, you take a 15-yard penalty. So, I think, yes, it's cheap, and it's going to hurt his image going forward. Especially when you're talking about some of these teams that don't have that much to lose, like the Jets. They don't have a ton to lose right now. You heard Trevor Siemian. The season doesn't change a whole lot for the Jets. You don't want to be putting yourself in that situation when you're the star pass rusher and you're going to win this game anyway, where they need to go out there and get some kind of cheap hit on you now.
Yeah. What's going on, Eric, formerly known as Owen? It's good to see you, man. He said Siemian got wrecked. Okay. Beyond it being, quote-unquote, maybe a cheap hit, the way
cheap, not dirty, or dirty, not cheap.
Right,
one
right.
of those two.
I mean, however you want to put it. Let's not forget, Simeon's the one that backed his leg underneath him. This is the same kind of knock on Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford, where it's like, you need to learn how to fall. You're going to get
It's going to happen. Sam Bradford might be a good example of that. I don't know how I'd point to Trevor Siemian and be like, this is his fault. It's just sometimes that's what things happen.
No, but when I watched it and it slowed down, he's putting that foot to grab himself. At some point in time, you kind of just have to lay yourself out a little bit.
That's very much easier said than done when we're watching on slow-mo replay.
But this is
in full time, you're not like, well, how do I position my legs?
But this is not something these guys are unfamiliar with. They're familiar with getting hit.
Yeah, they are. And I'm going to say in full speed and everything, I don't think that it's almost impossible to have that kind of presence of mind to say, hey, I need to get my legs out from underneath me in case I go down and fall on them. It's hard to be in that situation where you're getting hit, you're thinking about throwing the ball. Again, the body control it takes to move your legs in that situation, it's not an easy thing to do. I think this is just a bad break for him. It's just he came down weird on his foot, and was it a little bit cheap of a hit? Yes. Could it have not happened? Sure. But like I said, if I'm the offensive coordinator or if I'm Adam Gase and I'm calling the offense, I'm telling my left guard, hey, this is the second cheap hit in a row. Why don't you go lay one on Myles Garrett now? Let's go see if we can send the message that we're not going to let this happen again.
Ian, it's all good that you're late, man. We're just glad you're here. We'll get to that trade.
We're just talking about Detroit, man. We wonder where you were.
We'll get to that trade in a second. Eric,
his lion sense was tingling.
Eric, we're just glad you're here, man. I hope everything is good with you. saying that you've been out for a while.
We're glad you're back.
We hope all is well with you, but we are very glad you're back.
On a bad beat, Nathan says in one of his fantasy leagues, he drafted Andrew Luck and Ben Roethlisberger. And last week, traded for Drew Brees. Now he has no quarterbacks. The good thing is, quarterback is semi-replaceable.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it easy. You're not going to go replace someone like Drew Brees, who's the guy you plug in and say, I don't have to worry about him every week. But quarterback is relatively replaceable as long as you get someone halfway decent.
Yeah, as long as your league doesn't have
Now, if you're playing 16 players, maybe not.
But 16 teams and everyone's got 2, then you're a little bit in trouble. But more than likely, leagues aren't set up like that. So you're probably good to go to find someone. Hey, man, pick up Andy Dalton. No one's there. He is worth the
pickup. He's the second most passing yards through week 2. The only guy trailing, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. Andy Dalton, if he's not picked up yet, do it.
Behind him, Kyler Murray, and then Lamar Jackson. So what kind of bizarro world are we living in?
And Josh Allen. He's worth a pickup with his rushing ability.
Absolutely.
Couple ideas for you. Let's talk about this game a little bit longer, about the Browns and the Jets.
Go ahead, I'm going to reload.
I think we all know about what the Jets are about right now, where they're just kind of waiting to get healthy. Because not only was Sam Darnold out, C.J. Mosley was out, and if I remember correctly, Quinnen Williams was also banged up. I don't know if he played or not. It's blanking my head right now. But this team's just a little banged up. It's time for them to kind of get healthy and get back to it. On the other end, with the Browns, does this win, even though it wasn't pretty, does it help them kind of get back on track to what they were supposed to be during the offseason? Because we all know one thing, OBJ looked really well. He had a one-handed catch. He had the longest reception in his career for a touchdown. I think it was 89 yards. His stats, 6 receptions, 161 yards and a touchdown. I mean, he was really, realistically, the only offensive power during this game, even though they got 23 points.
You almost think Greg Williams shouldn't have been talking all that smack before the game, huh?
Yeah.
You know, almost, I mean, who knows? Maybe he doesn't motivate him. This game turns out differently. But again, with them having Luke Falk under center, former Titans quarterback, let's see how he gets to do in his first career start this week. I really don't see the Jets as too much of a threat to anybody, even with Le'Veon Bell, even with this defense. I hate it for Le'Veon owners because even though he'll be the focal point, defenses are going to know that too. That guys like Jamison Crowder and Quincy Enunwa, even though he's hurt right now, and Robbie Anderson are not going to be able to just overwhelm the defense. They're going to focus on Le'Veon Bell, take him out of the game, even more so by not having Sam Darnold. It's just a bad break. It is, and this can be the kind of stuff that derails the season. As for Cleveland, you got to start somewhere. This is a good win against a halfway decent defense.
Now, Nathan, we absolutely love this comment. He says, Dalton's available. I should go get him. You guys are geniuses.
There's no guarantee it continues. There's no guarantee he stays healthy, but they're going to need to throw. Their offensive line is not good enough to run consistently with Joe Mixon against the good defenses. They're going to have to throw.
My only question is, why does that comment not have more likes by our fellow viewers?
Exactly. Andy Dalton's the guy to look for. And
it's not even that.
Isn't it crazy?
I'm more focused on the second part.
Okay.
Where he says, you guys are geniuses.
Oh, okay. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you'd think everyone would like that comment, but...
You would think.
I guess not. Maybe they saw us 0-2 in fantasy. They're like, are they, though?
That's because we're going with each other and we're trying to battle what we think. Yeah, it doesn't work. Next year,
ain't over yet.
Separate
ain't over yet.
Teams.
Maybe we need to start Aaron Jones, is all I can say. Maybe we need to play
You're the one that said it. You're
like,
we got to set him.
And you were like, dude, yeah, totally. And now it's my fault because I said it first.
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Okay.
Going forward, the Jets don't have a lot to play for. The Browns, again, start somewhere. I like that I don't like the way they played, but I like that they managed to overcome a tough game. This is the kind of win you need to have. It's a building win for them. Am I going to say that all the problems are solved and they don't have to worry about their attitude? No, of course not. It's Cleveland, man. They have so many attitudes that this could jump up at any point in the season. But this is the first step to, hey, maybe we can get everybody rolling on the same kind of tempo and we get this team rolling forward.
My last little thing, and just because we're talking about fantasy, is I guess I was kind of not wrong about Le'Veon Bell. No matter what, that offense runs through Le'Veon Bell. He is worth the first-round pick if you took him. I'm going
to say no. Week in and week out, Cleveland has not been a very consistent defense to this point.
My point is he's putting up stats even when they're behind by 20. I'm just throwing that out there.
I guess we'll see. We'll see what Luke Falk can do with Le'Veon Bell.
I think it's good.
I'll take that beer bet any day of the week.
I think it's a very good possibility that Darnold plays next week.
I don't. The way he's talking about my body shut down against the Bills, I think it's going to be 3 or 4 weeks.
Dude, it's mono.
Yeah, and mono can take months to get over. I
get it. Man up.
And what are they playing for? Just don't risk
I've
the young
never
QB.
had mono.
All right.
Man up. My sister had mono.
Mm-hmm.
But
did she need to man up?
I told her to girl up. She went to school the next day. No, I'm just kidding. She didn't.
Fair enough. And Ian says not good for the Jets now that their second QB is out a few weeks. Yeah, it's not good, but were you winning with Trevor Siemian? I mean, the Broncos already made that mistake, right? You're not winning with him. You're not winning with Luke Falk. It's going to be a struggle with Sam Darnold. This is just a roster that's not there yet.
Well, let's pump the brakes on Falk, okay? 20 for 25.
Drew, the Dolphins didn't want him.
198 yards.
The Dolphins
no interceptions.
Didn't want him. The Titans didn't want him at quarterback. The Dolphins gave up on him at quarterback. Drew, ship it. He's done.
Let's talk about how crappy both those organizations are.
Okay, all right. But if you saw any flash in the pan, you're like, dude, we're the Dolphins. We need as much talent as we can. We're letting go of Ryan Fitzpatrick. They were like, thank you, Luke Falk, for your contribution, but there's the door. Don't let it hit you on the way out, okay? Well, hey, if you want to bet on him, I'll make any beer bet pretty much under the sun when it comes to Luke Falk and how he's going to start.
Ian says, not a fantasy guy he's never played. Now, thanks to us, he's going to be doing it next season. We're glad we can help you. Steven says, I could tell you never had it. What's that supposed to mean, man? I don't kiss girls? He says...
Talking about mono. Be a real man. Go get mono, Drew.
He goes, it felt like I was going to die for about 2 months straight when I had it. Well, that's because, Steven, you were kissing boys. And I was kissing girls, so girls just don't have mono.
You'll have to explain.
Boys do.
So what does that say about Sam Darnold? You're going to have to explain the math to me later, Drew.
He's kissing boys.
All right, Nick says he went through 3 quarterbacks in 3 weeks, and he just got Dalton. Let's try to make it 4 for 4. Don't say that. He got hurt last season, too. We've seen some injury history from Andy Dalton here in the past. Also, Louis says, were they winning with Darnold anyway? No, probably not, but I'll say this. They'd probably be more competitive with him, especially no mono Darnold. I think they probably could have challenged this game. Cleveland only scored 23, and we're talking about their second and third string quarterbacks, keeping them, I don't want to say in this game, but relatively, the defense kept this close. Maybe with a starter like Darnold, they hang around, and weird things happen in the NFL every day. Mono is for champions, huh? Okay. All right.
He says, wait, disregard that comment now.
All right, we'll move forward. We talked about Jalen Ramsey already. Any team should consider trading for him. I think even Oakland might be the front runner because he said before this season, if the Jags don't pay me, I want to play in Tennessee because he's a Nashville native, and I want to play in Oakland. Those are the 2 franchises. If I'm Oakland, I'm giving that first-round pick up to make that happen right now. If I am a playoff team, I'm giving up at first, probably not more than that. If I'm the Steelers, I'm giving up my second-round pick to go get this guy. If I can talk Jacksonville into it.
Maybe next year's first. Or the year after that means first.
I don't like consecutive back-to-back firsts. And this is one of my things that I'm out on with the Chiefs getting him. Because they gave up the first this year for Frank Clark. I don't like the idea of them giving up the 2020 first to get another player. But it's the Super Bowl window, right, Drew? Especially when you're tight on cap, though. And you know he's probably not going to be signed.
As a Chiefs fan, I have realized that first-round picks are just not what it's all meant to be.
Well, when you pick 30th, 28th, it's not the same as picking 10th.
The first time we picked was Eric... Or the number 1 pick overall, we got Eric Fisher. Yeah, he's been a decent left tackle, but there was like
swing and a miss.
That was considered one of the worst drafts of all time. It was that year, and I can't remember what the year is right now. But we picked first overall, and we got Eric Fisher, and he's like one of the only few players still playing in the NFL out of that draft. So exciting times for the Kansas City Chiefs to pick their first-round pick. So I got no issue with Kansas City getting rid of another first-round pick. We've obviously made it work through how we've been doing it. So I'm good with it.
Eventually, the franchise erodes when you're not picking your top. Usually, you have to hit up.
If you're the Titans. But if
or
Kansas
anybody,
City,
actually.
Well,
what do good teams do? They build through the draft. Now, I wouldn't hate it. Look, if they do it, I wouldn't hate it. But, again...
The Patriots trade a lot of their first-round picks.
But what else
away.
do they do? When they're picked 32 and they do it on draft day when they get more value than they should, this isn't trading your first round pick and getting somebody in return for it. They don't do that very often.
Talking about high 20s,
they almost
30s,
never do that, actually, the Patriots. They never say, we'll just give up this first round pick now. They wait till draft day, and then they trade down like 6 spots, and they still take somebody, and they bring in like 12 picks. So, again, I wouldn't hate this for the Chiefs if they do it. But back-to-back years is kind of a lot. They did just give up the first for Frank Clark from last season. Now another first. You want that kind of talent and that kind of caliber player on the team. Then again, Jalen Ramsey, if you find a way to make it work money-wise, think about spending a first-round pick on a 24-year-old, however old he is. I think he's 24. That's not that bad. Some guys come out at 23 and 24.
Yeah.
Just think of him as your first-round pick.
Then again, have no issue with Kansas City picking him up.
Some issue, minor issue. I'm not going to say they're a bad organization by making that trade. All right, we'll move forward. We'll talk about Our next deal, or let's talk about some quarterback injuries. Drew Brees, 6 weeks plus, from what I understand, with his thumb injury. They said they'll know more in the coming days.
Well,
but right now, the estimate is 6
surgery,
weeks.
So it's a matter of the outcome of the surgery. But we're probably looking at 8 weeks. We're probably looking at 8 weeks without Drew Brees.
Right.
So.
And Eric says he's surprised Belichick hasn't jumped on Jalen Ramsey here. Except for Stephon Gilmore, we have not really seen them go and jump on a player. Who knows? This is a Stephon Gilmore caliber player. Maybe they do this time.
Sorry. Eric, a different Eric, by the way, says he's been working all day, but did I see, I guess us, see that the Steelers picked up Minkah Fitzpatrick? We did see it. We think it's a great move. Problem is, he doesn't throw the ball. I mean, realistically, he doesn't throw the ball.
But that's okay. I actually like this pick.
I do too. I do too. I'm not knocking it. I don't want you to think that I'm sitting there going, "Oh, this is such a waste of a pick." I absolutely love this pick. This guy's only played in the league for one solid year. This is a perfect pick. It's a first-round pick, and if you were drafting him this year, you would draft him again.
He's 22 years old.
Exactly, and he's proven that he can pan out in this league.
It's a first-round pick without any of the risk.
Is the Steelers' defense good enough to get them into the playoffs with Mason Rudolph as their quarterback? Because you got to think, Antonio Brown's gone. Le'Veon Bell's gone. James Conner's day-to-day with a knee injury. Juju Smith has yet to really show up. A downer on me because I thought he would as the number one wide receiver. So, I mean, it's...
Who called that one? And I think Juju's a great player. I just don't like Juju alone in an offense.
I won't say it. I don't know who called it. Somebody that I did a show
Somebody
with.
that's sitting in this room. But I will say this, Drew. This tells me one of three things for the Steelers. Either one, they say Big Ben's coming back next year, so we can afford to give up this first-round pick, and it doesn't matter because we can win a Super Bowl with Big Ben, especially if we build up a defense. We can spend some other picks to bring in some weapons. Big Ben comes back. We win the Super Bowl. That could be a line of thought. Okay. Number two, Mason Rudolph is a good enough quarterback that we don't need to draft somebody. It might be what they're saying. They've seen this guy in practice. Obviously, they felt good enough about him to let go of Josh Dobbs. They might believe Mason Rudolph is the heir apparent. Or three, both of the above. That they say Big Ben's coming back, and we believe in Mason Rudolph regardless. It doesn't matter whether he's coming back, whether Big Ben comes back or not, because we believe in this kid. But if he does, it's great. It's icing on the cake. I think, again, when you see this kind of confidence that this could be, because this is your backup quarterback coming in for 14 games of the season. When you're 0-2, realistically, you could have a top 5 pick. Yeah. And I know Steelers fans are panicking to hear that, but realistically, the Steelers could have a top 5 pick with a backup playing all year long. All I can say, Drew, they are showing Mason Rudolph either a ton of faith or they're saying there's no way Big Ben retires. One of the two. I like both of those kind of scenarios, and I like them making this trade.
I'm not knocking Mason Rudolph. I think he played pretty well for what situation he was thrown into. I do want to knock something here. Ian goes, and I've heard so many Steeler fans say this. He goes, no one knew who Ben Roethlisberger was when Maddox went down. Okay.
Well, you did spend a first-round pick on him, so you might not have known, but you were hoping, right?
I mean, it's a first-round pick. Mason Rudolph was not, and
we've seen first-round quarterbacks flame out.
As much as history repeats itself, not when it comes to the NFL draft and quarterbacks working out. Steven says, is any team's D good enough to make the playoffs with Rudolph at quarterback? He says that's a big no.
I think Chicago would be.
I think he's actually...
I think Chicago has a Mason Rudolph caliber starter back there.
To be honest, Mason Rudolph looked
That might
decent.
be a little harsh on Trubisky, but... Sorry, go ahead.
No, all I was saying was Mason Rudolph looked decent. But now, he has to come out and do it again. This team, I can't even remember who the Steelers are playing next. I'm sure Ian can let me know. This team's going to have now film on Mason Rudolph, and they were going to be planning to face Mason Rudolph. That is what a difference is. It's the same thing with Minshew when he came in for Jacksonville when Nick Foles went down. Kansas City has not been playing for Minshew to come in. They've been playing for Nick Foles to come in. They have no film on him. It makes a huge difference when professionals have a chance to prepare for a quarterback they have yet to play with versus, one that just comes in because of an injury.
The only caveat to that, neither one of those guys have a lot of tape in the NFL. So there's not much to study anyway. So you might see that kind of rookie bubble
Right.
Where a guy has 8 great games, and I think Lamar Jackson is kind of an example of
San
this.
Francisco.
Even though he's looked good against 2 terrible defenses, let's not call Lamar Jackson a winner just yet. I want to see a little bit more out of him. But we have seen guys have an 8-game stretch where they can kind of succeed in the NFL. I think the Steelers need that because the nightmare scenario is Mason Rudolph is no good. You traded your first pick away, and you're going to go win 2 games this year because you have a bad quarterback and wind up you just traded the Dolphins the 2nd or 3rd pick in the draft behind their pick. So they're going to have like 1 and 3 or 1 and 2 and 1 and 4, whatever. That would be the nightmare scenario. But again, they're building this defense to the point where if James Conner comes back and put together a string of games, likely with the way the defense is going to play, you're going to win a few. Like you can beat Cincinnati. You can probably outshake the Ravens in the game here. You can probably beat the Cleveland at least once or twice. You're probably talking about 4 or 5 wins because the division isn't as tough as it could be against the way the Steelers are now building themselves up to be.
Yeah.
I need to see more out of that secondary. That's been the way to attack them. And again, signing Steven Nelson, we talked about it before, like you just threw $30 million at what?
Yeah.
But if they can kind of get that under control, especially if they find a way to land someone like Jalen Ramsey, we're going to be talking about the Steelers having a great running game and a great defense, and that's good enough to play in the NFL.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Ian did say San Francisco, so we got a 2-0 versus 0-2 game going in with that, and of course we'll get to this on Friday. But I don't know if I have the faith in the Steelers coming with Mason Rudolph. I honestly don't, and I know that sounds crazy because any other time I'd sit there and say Ben Roethlisberger, it's a win for the Steelers. It's going to be
You got to think about it now.
We got to think about it now.
Well, Jimmy G's looked halfway decent in the season. I know he started slow week 1, but he looked good week 2. Week 3, against a weak passing defense and a defensive front that's really tough, that's likely to take away this rushing attack, whether James Conner plays or not. There's going to be a lot on Mason Rudolph. We're going to learn a lot about him this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we'll move forward. Minkah Fitzpatrick, good trade, bad trade. For Dolphins and Steelers, who won this one?
Did we get to both quarterbacks? We did not get to Drew Brees.
We did not talk Drew Brees as much. Can the Saints float with Teddy Bridgewater?
Yes. Are they going to put the same record up? No. I mean, if we're trying to go through this kind of quick, the best way to put it is we got to remember that Bridgewater did take the Vikings to the playoffs, but not by numbers. I mean, this was kind of more of the fact the Vikings team around him was that good. The question is, does Sean Payton and the team around him in New Orleans, is it good enough to take an average quarterback and put him in the playoffs?
The defenses look good. You
Yes.
have Alvin Kamara. You have an offensive line that's halfway decent. I think they can float here, Drew. Again, when we're talking about the Panthers with their struggles and Cam Newton, Tampa Bay, even though they won week 2 against the Panthers, come on, guys. Come on. The defense is going to show up here in a minute. We're going to see them giving up 450 yards a game. We're going to see Jameis Winston throw his pick soon. We haven't seen them be good. Even against the Panthers, I know they were playing in a hurricane, but I think that played to their advantage as bad as they've been. If you could have had the Carolina Panthers throw a little bit better, they probably would have beat him. And sure, you could say it's Cam's injury, but I think even more than that, it was the weather was bad and made it even harder on a guy who's already struggling. I think the Bucs are an afterthought. The Panthers are struggling without their starting quarterback. Atlanta seems like they're week to week. Who knows? Maybe that's the trend, but I think that Atlanta's week to week for sure. At the end of the day, the Saints still have to be your favorite. Even with Teddy Bridgewater, they have so much going on the defensive side of the ball. They have so much going. Even though I don't like Eli Apple being on the field as much as he is, they still have a great defense. They held the Rams down and in check for most of that game. They've got what they need. They got a running back. They've got a defense. You can float for 6 weeks.
And they got a receiver too.
And maybe Teddy's not that bad, right?
He's not that bad.
And that's what I'm saying.
He's just not elite.
Exactly. Maybe Teddy's not that bad, and they get there. I think the Saints will be fine.
Eric says he can see the Saints still win that division with Bridgewater at quarterback. And he also goes, he has seen a change in the Saints offense ever since losing Ingram. They aren't as dynamic as they were when they had him. Do you believe that there's a change with that?
I think you're seeing a small step back with Latavius Murray. I think this whole team has just been out of whack. You could blame it on them not having Ingram, but against the Texans, where it should have been pass heavy, I think it's been Drew Brees. I think it's them starting slow again. I think Drew Brees, even though he was on the field, was not as sharp as he's been in years past. He's getting older, Drew. Yeah. This might be a mixture of the skill declining a little bit, and he's not practicing as much because he's trying to protect himself. I think you're starting to see a little bit of that regression even from their star quarterback. I think that's more what it is than them losing Ingram, even though I do see that as a subtraction.
Yeah. Ty, what's going on, man? Glad you could join us. Steven says Bridgewater is so overrated. His numbers
Amen.
and the Vikings were terrible even before his injury. 15 TDs both seasons. I got to disagree with that. I would not use the word terrible. I would use the word average. I would say he is very average. And when you have a decent team around you, he can provide wins for you. It's the kind of same scenario with Lamar Jackson. I know we were talking about it a little bit before today about how he has yet to face a team that really is considered a great team. So everyone's pumping up how great he's doing, and I am one of them because he's looking really good. Bridgewater had the same scenario where he has been in an atmosphere where the Vikings were really good defense. He had a decent offense around him, and he wasn't turning the ball over, and he was succeeding. I believe, regardless if you think he's overrated or terrible or not, that he could do the same thing in the Saints organization because of what's around him.
For a backup, he's top 2 or 3. I mean, he's about as good of a backup as you can ask for. You got to remember, the Dolphins were asking him to be their starting quarterback before they traded for Rosen and signed Fitzpatrick. So he has some value in the NFL, but I'm kind of with you, Steven. I think people talk about him like he's a top 20 quarterback when I see him somewhere around 28, 29, 30. He's a game manager. He's not a guy that's going to go light up the scoreboard for you. He needs a defense, he needs a running game, and he needs some weapons in the passing game. He's not a guy like Andrew Luck that just elevates a franchise by him simply being in the room.
Right.
Then again, for a backup quarterback, this is about as good as it gets. I think the Saints are in good hands for now. They have the defense. They should have the running game. They should have the offensive line, and they got Michael Thomas. Would I like to see another receiver or two in there? Sure. I know Traquan Smith got banged up in the last game too. I don't know that I think Traquan's there. I don't think Ted Ginn is that guy that you're like, oh, he's a quality number 2. He's a gimmick player almost to me. Yeah. I think people put too much faith in him, but Teddy's got about as good of a situation as he's going to get, and for a backup quarterback, this is money for the Saints. This is 100% what you wanted in that scenario where if you need to have a quarterback come in for 6 weeks, this is about as good as it gets. Short of the Titans and Tannehill. I mean, is there a backup you would take right now in the NFL over Teddy Bridgewater? I would take Tannehill. And that might be it. That realistically might be it. I don't know that somebody else has another backup quarterback. Maybe you could say Gardner Minshew, the way he's playing, but probably not.
Ty said he would like to see Hill at quarterback. I don't think that's ever going to happen, dude. He's just not that kind of player. Steven says he'll give you all the hype around Bridgewater before the injury was overblown. And Nathan says Bridgewater will be fine.
And you're right, Steven. I was saying the same thing. When the guy's throwing for 180 yards and everyone's talking about he's a great player, I believe the hype, it was super overhyped at the time. And I think it's the feel-good story. Everyone's saying Teddy Bridgewater's this great quarterback coming back because you want to root for the guy that had that bad of an injury.
All right.
I don't think he's a great quarterback by any means. I don't.
I don't
think he's a good quarterback by any means. He's not a top 15 guy
he's
that
average.
You're like, realistically, we can build a team around this guy and we can win. I don't think he's average. I'd take Andy Dalton over him. I'd take a lot of guys over Teddy Bridgewater. I think he's good enough to be an NFL player. He's like a fringe starter who's probably hanging around somewhere between 28 and 35. But he's not the guy that you bring in and you say, we can win the Super Bowl because we have Teddy Bridgewater.
Steven's saying he's got Peterman, so he's excited about his backup.
Well, exactly.
Eric says, replying to Ty's comment, he says, no, Taysom Hill is capable to play quarterback, but isn't effective as a continuous quarterback. He's one of those trick play quarterbacks, which is what I was getting at, who only plays a position when they want to run something crazy. That's not completely true, because I've seen Hill throw the ball, and it seems to be decent. But the thing is that you have to change offense completely if you're putting Hill in there. That's the reason why they're putting Bridgewater.
And Nathan says Bridgewater is a serviceable quarterback, but serviceable, we use that word with Tyrod Taylor. You don't win a Super Bowl because you have Tyrod Taylor, even though he took the Bills to the playoffs and he broke that streak. How realistically were they in those playoffs when they lost 6-3 against Jacksonville? Not. I mean, he's the guy that you could squeak into the playoffs with him if you have a great, amazing defense like Buffalo had, and you have LaShawn McCoy, and the offensive line's playing really well. I get it, they didn't have the passing game back then, but if you put a ton of stuff around this guy, you have a realistic chance of making the playoffs, and that's what you want out of your backup quarterback.
Nathan's going, they're not going to win no championships with Bridgewater, but he will win them some games. That's his point. And that's really what he's got to do. He's arguably probably got 8 weeks.
You got to go 3-3 here. If it's 6, you got to go 4-4 if it's 8, or 3-5 even if it's 8.
You get 500 is the point, and then you let Drew Brees come back. But even when Drew Brees comes back, you have to get him back into game shape. I mean, He can stay, his legs can be healthy. He can work out a little bit with his arm, but getting the grip on the ball and throwing it and getting that timing back down, yeah, the guy's a pro, but I don't know what it looks like in week 11. I don't know what their matchup is. It could be tough.
You don't heal at 40 the same way you do at 26. This isn't a 26-year-old hurting his thumb. It's a 40-year-old hurting his thumb.
Right.
I'm with you guys. This is the float quarterback that you want to have. He has some value as a backup. He might even have some value if you're a bad team as a starter. Like if you were the Jets right now and you had Teddy Bridgewater, you could realistically say, hey, we have the defense, we have Le'Veon Bell. If we bring in a receiver or two, we might be able to do something with Teddy Bridgewater. But you don't, as a playoff team, say we have Teddy Bridgewater, we can bet on him. That's just what it is. There's going to be 25 guys who are better than him on any given Sunday. You just have to have the rest of your team better than the other team you're facing.
Right.
The Saints might have that.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move forward, I guess. We can talk about Daniel Jones. Because I have a little bit of a conspiracy theory here, Drew. I'm going to go out in the left field a little bit.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about a conspiracy theory with this. If you haven't heard, Daniel Jones is going to get the start week 3 for the Giants. We were talking about this. When is the right time to play the rookie? And I say play the rookie as long as the offense is there. And the offense is there for the Giants, right? They had a decent showing against the Cowboys and the Bills, both teams with pretty good defenses.
Right.
Defenses we respect. Now is the time to play him. They got the offensive line. Even though Golden Tate's suspended, they've got a few receivers still. Golden Tate will be coming back. They have Saquon Barkley. The offense is in the shape that you want to see. He's not going to win you games. Because with this defense, as bad as it is, giving up 440 yards a game or something stupid like that on average, you're not going to win games. But if it's a learning opportunity in an offense that's able to sustain that. And that's what I want when I play my rookie quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think there's any great time to start a rookie quarterback over a 2-time winning Super Bowl quarterback. I don't think there's a great timetable, but I am always and will always be one of those guys that sit there and tell you that it's the first time I used it.
You said it before, too. I didn't call you on it.
You should have called me on it. I didn't think I did. Anyways, that you should start your quarterback at a young age, as a rookie. You should start him young because it allows them to adapt to the game and start playing at a different level. When they sit there and play, when they get a chance to play in college, it's different. The game is not the same. You need to get there, and then with the pros, and you get to change the game and the speed and everything about it. It's completely different. And I'm all about getting your guy out there and getting a chance to play with the pros. I know you want a perfect scenario, but there's a reason why you're drafting a young quarterback, because the scenario isn't perfect. You don't have one. Unfortunately, that's just what it is. Play the guy, see what you got.
Don't throw him to the Wolves. Don't be Cleveland. We've seen that too many times. I'm going to go into my conspiracy theory in just a sec, but before that, Ty says, regardless of the Saints situation, the Rams will still go to the Super Bowl and get beat by the Patriots again. But Eric's kind of disagreeing, saying the Rams aren't going to go to the Super Bowl. All I can say, if you've seen the Rams offense here, they put up some points, but they don't look the same. Whether it's Todd Gurley being not right, or whether it's the passing game and a hangover from that, Jared Goff doesn't look good. The receivers don't quite look like they're all on point. Some of it even seems like it's Sean McVay. I don't know if something has happened to the whiz kid. The Rams have not looked right as an offense. And I think that's going to be something they have to solve going forward here before I'm willing to say they're going back to the Super Bowl. Because if you go into Chicago playing like this, Chicago's going to beat them again. If you go into Philadelphia playing like this, Philadelphia can beat them. And I know the Saints lost, but if Drew Brees plays that whole game and the refs don't screw him over on that fumble that was a fumble and should have been a touchdown and instead it was just a turnover, if the refs don't screw him in that game, the Saints could win. The Saints probably win that game. The Rams have got to figure it out, and they've got to do it quick.
Steven's all in on Daniel Jones. He said he was saying it before that he was drafted, that he was going to be a good quarterback. Yeah, this is a terrible team around him, but he'll have Saquon to help out a lot. I agree.
I think offensively they're pretty good. Evan Ingram's a good receiving tight end. You've got Golden Tate, who's a great possession receiver who can do a little bit of stuff after the fact and can make guys miss. Even Sterling Shepard, not the worst thing in the world. Offensively, not many rookie quarterbacks go into better setups than I think Daniel Jones has, because you think about what they've done to bring in guys like Nate Solder and Zeitler as an offensive guard. They've worked on this offensive line. Hernandez has been good. This is about as good of a situation as usually rookie quarterbacks get, especially when you're talking about being a top 5, top 6 pick in the draft.
Ian wants to know what happens to Eli. Will he mentor? Will he tire? Will he ask for a trade?
Eli said to Gettleman, I'm going to continue to be a good teammate here. I think he sticks around unless Jacksonville gets a wild hair up their ass and they say, if we bring in Eli, we're going to make the playoffs. Right now, Gardner Minshew's playing better than Eli would.
Yeah,
I'm short of that. Maybe Gardner Minshew gets hurt. I think Eli stays a Giant. He mentors the kid, and this might be all she wrote. This might be Eli's chance to ride off into the sunset a little bit.
Nathan, just because we're talking about it, I don't mean to skip Eric's comments, but we'll get to him. He says, how much do you think a team would pay draft pick-wise for Eli Manning to help them out this season? So many teams out there looking for quarterbacks, just asking what we thought.
Give me a 7th this year. I'll give you a 7th next year. I really don't see them giving up a lot. I would almost say cut him because I don't want to give him the contract that the Giants have given him. I don't want to bring that onto my books. We've seen this guy kind of quit on plays. We've seen Eli Manning be ineffectual pretty much since that last Super Bowl. It's been 5 years since Eli Manning's been good. It really has. Realistically, it's been 5 years since Eli Manning has looked anywhere near decent. And let me caveat here into my conspiracy theory. The reason this is happening right now, I thought this was going to happen after we saw Golden Tate return. Maybe it was week 6, and Golden Tate's got a little bit of work under his belt, and the offense is as good as it's going to be. The reason this is happening right now is because Eli Manning is 116 and 116 record-wise overall. I think they sat down with him and they said, look, if you want to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, you don't need to have a losing record. If you go into this with a losing record, even though you won the 2 Super Bowls, that might delay or even prohibit you from making the Hall of Fame, because he's already almost a fringe guy to me. If it's me, I'm going to vote no. Because, yeah, he had 2 great runs with great defenses, and he beat the Patriots, and that's the romantic thing to look at. But how many years has Eli Manning been bad in the NFL? If Eli Manning is a Hall of Fame quarterback, Phillip Rivers is far and away a Hall of Fame quarterback. Like, hands down. And Roethlisberger's even further ahead of them from that draft class. I think this is all about them protecting Eli for his Hall of Fame bid more than it is time to play Daniel Jones.
Okay, well, I gotta completely disagree with you, and I know
tinfoil hat off.
I know Eric is with you. He says not even a 7th, and Nathan said, "Wow, a 7th." Here's my thing about it. There's no doubt about it. Eli Manning loves football. This guy wants to play. It's a passion of his. It means a lot to him. He's a 2-time winning Super Bowl champion. Is he gonna be a Hall of Famer? I'm gonna throw that completely off the board. I think if a team is trying to win now, which could possibly be the Jaguars, especially with Conklin, or what's his name? Kaufman. What's his name? Darn it, I'm saying it wrong. The old Giants.
That is Kaufman.
Kaufman, okay.
Yeah. Coughlin.
There we go. That's why I was saying it wrong. He makes all the decisions in Jacksonville. I think the trade will more than likely be a scenario where, like, we'll give you a 6th, we'll give you a 5th round, but you make the playoffs, or if we make the playoffs, it could be a 4th. It could be a 3rd. There are incentives behind some of this stuff when they do these trades. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but you're right. There's a lot of teams out there that need a serviceable quarterback that they don't have one. And if Eli is available, which I don't think he is, I think teams are willing to go out there and kind of risk that scenario. Because most 6th, 7th round draft picks don't work out or make the team anyway. So you bring in Eli, you have him for a year, and then you cut him. It's not that hard. It's just the exact same scenario when you sit there and you draft a 6th or 7th round player and they don't make your team anyways. It's the same scenario. Yeah, you could bring up the value of his contract. Well, some of these teams out there, like the Colts, have a bunch of cap space that they need to spend.
Are the Colts moving off of Jacoby Brissett to bring him in?
I'm just talking about teams that
have... Are the
Jags
moving off Gardner Minshew to bring him in?
Maybe.
Should they?
You know who the future quarterback is because they paid him. It's Nick Foles. Why not bring him in and then let Nick Foles...
Because Gardner Minshew might show that, hey, we don't need Nick Foles, and then you can trade Nick Foles next year. Well, Gardner Minshew has had 2 decent starts. Not great starts, but 2 decent starts. Who wants Nick Foles? There's always 5 teams that are looking to roll over their quarterback.
I think it's the same thing with Eli Manning.
Denver wants him. Does Denver want Eli Manning? No, they've got Joe Flacco.
How do you
but
know?
If they could get Nick Foles, I don't because it's John Elway and nobody knows. But realistically, are you giving up Joe Flacco to sign a 38-year-old Eli Manning right now because it's going to help the Denver Broncos get to the playoffs? No, I mean, nobody realistically has that shot. Are the Jets bringing him in because they need a punching bag? Eli's already shown that he doesn't want to be a punching bag. He'll quit on plays. He'll slide and just go down when the going gets tough.
He just doesn't want to get hit.
And I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to get hit like that either. But again, if I'm a team, I don't want the guy that doesn't want to get hit.
Let's not forget how atrocious that offensive line was.
Sure. But I don't want the guy that's going to quit on it.
And it's not like he didn't get hit. The guy did get hit a lot.
Yeah, but I don't want the guy who quits.
But what media wants to show you is those hits where he does slide first because this is the hit coming.
And what I want to see, too, where he's like, it just rolls over like a dead fish. That's not what I want out of my quarterback. I don't care if... I don't care if I can get him for free and I'm the Jets. I'm not touching Eli Manning. Not even at this point. I'll play Luke Falk because there's a chance I hit the diamond in the rough. And then if he doesn't work, I'll sign 6 other guys that nobody's ever heard of. I'll sign Logan Woodside from the AAF and bring him in and say, hey, can I get something out of this guy before I play 38-year-old, I'm going to quit on your team, Eli Manning. It's that simple. I don't think he has any trade value to anyone but Jacksonville because he's played with Coughlin for as long as he is, and they've won Super Bowls together. The moral of the story is nobody wants a quitter, and that's what Eli Manning is. And again, to Steven's point here, he says he disagrees and says Eli deserves a Hall of Fame bid. He says 2 Super Bowl wins, 1 against an 18-0 team. Rivers sits back and cries every time he loses. Whether you want to say off the field, on the field, like people complaining about stuff, Phillip Rivers has had the better career. He just hasn't had the teams. Yeah, he had LT when he was younger and Antonio Gates, but that was when they were both young, and that was before he was ready to win.
Okay, but no, you have to take that back. Offensively,
realistically now, no, he makes guys like Tyrell Williams, who I think is a good receiver, look like a star. He makes guys like Keenan Allen, that nobody considers a great receiver, look like he's great. He makes guys...
Besides himself.
Well, okay, fine. He makes Mike Williams look good. He makes nobodies into receivers. When was the last time you looked at Eli Manning and said, man, you know what? He made someone look good. You know who? Mario Manningham. That was the last time. And guess what? That was back when they won the Super Bowl. He had some good games in the postseason, but so did Joe Flacco. Does that make Joe Flacco an amazing quarterback you want on your team? It does not. Okay? He had a great team around him. He had a great defense, a killer defense, and that's why it happened. They got hot at the right time. Eli Manning played good in those games, to be fair, but we're talking about a guy who's 116 and 116 all time. As bad as he is, we've seen Andrew Luck overcome bad teams. We've seen Peyton Manning and Tom Brady overcome when the team isn't ready to win. We've never seen Eli do that. When the team is not ready to win, he's not ready to win with them.
Steven, I'm agreeing with you. He says, Eli, quitter, ? Dude, he got hit all his career and started over 200 games. Come on now.
Not all his career. He got hit a lot towards the back half, sure. And he quit on a lot of plays, but you could say he's taken a lot of hits, and that's okay. Nobody wants him now at 38, and that's why you don't want the quitter. You don't want the guy who's going to slide.
The
you want the guy
that says,
I'll take
quitter, and you can't call him a quitter.
I can when he slides on all these hits. I can. When you're
wrong.
not running, it's
okay you're wrong. It's okay you're wrong because, dude, he's just trying to survive. Man, when his offensive line giving up. Dude, that's why Ben Roethlisberger's hurt. Is because Ben Roethlisberger has one to play behind one of the weakest lines. I don't care what any Steelers
Who goes to the Hall of Fame first, Ben Roethlisberger or Eli Manning?
That's a different scenario. That's not what we're talking about here.
Well, they both won 2 Super Bowls.
That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about you calling Eli Manning a quitter.
He's a quitter.
And it drives me crazy because he's not a quitter, man. This guy has played for a long time, and this is a very tough sport that takes a lot of physical strength for you to play, regardless what position you play. And these guys are standing in a pocket, getting reamed. And Eli Manning has been hit very hard in many scenarios. Yes, he's older. Yeah, he's 38. But guess what? That gives him the right to duck and dive for these hits, man. Their team is not winning a Super Bowl. He's trying to survive and play his career out when he's ready to say quit.
I'm not saying he wants to quit in the game, but he's going to quit on his team. And he's going to say, I'm doing what's best for Eli.
If this is Tom Brady with a really weak offense, and you sit there and swap scenarios, Tom Brady is going to dive and duck for his life.
Nope, I guarantee it. If there's one guy who has the killer mentality and says, I want to win, Tom Brady is not sliding I don't get hit. He would throw a pick. He would do whatever it takes. And Eli's done plenty of that, by the way. He's thrown... Hold on, here's another great stat to say he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. In half the games, he's... not half, but I forget what the actual stat is. It's like 60 or 70% of the games with Tom Brady. He's thrown like 70 more interceptions. He's a quitter. It is. You don't want the guy that says, I'm going to slide because I need to protect Eli. You want the guy that says, it doesn't matter how bad this team is. I'm going to do everything I can to try to get us the win. That's what you respect in the NFL. It takes that kind of mentality to overcome with a bad team. He doesn't have that mentality, and guess who's going to pick up a guy like Eli right now? A bad team. Nobody is good right now that says, I'll just bring in Eli and we'll be okay. Like, if you're the Saints, you're not going to bring in Eli even with an injury to Drew Brees. If you're the Steelers, you're not going to bring in Eli Manning and say, well, he could replace this guy I have and maybe he makes us good. No, because he's not going to stick it out and he's not going to be the guy who gets the play done. He's just not. And he hasn't been that guy for years now.
Chris says he's 38 and fragile. No way you don't slide. Steven says 200 and...
When was the last time you saw Tom Brady slide and just give up on a play?
A lot. 210 straight starts. Second
happen.
most of all time. Not a quitter. Don't let the media fool you. Media throws those same plays over and over. Let's show that game where he slid and didn't get hit that one time, and how many times he actually got hit during that game, because I watched that game, the whole game, and he was constantly hit. He was tired of getting hit. I don't blame the guy. You can't call him a quitter. That's crazy.
He's a quitter. He doesn't have the mentality.
We got to change it. We got to change it. Eric says, "Hey guys, Ty and him are having a debate, kind of laugh out loud. Who was more talented, the Rams or the Cowboys?"
Like right now, or
yes.
What are we talking about? Right now, the Cowboys are playing a lot better. If Michael Gallup is as good as it looks, I know he's hurt, but if he's as good as he looks, I would almost go the Cowboys with the way the defense is looking too. More talented. I think the Rams are better run still. I think they're eventually going to have the smarter offense, but talent-wise, there's a reason you saw guys like Clay Matthews and Eric Weddle get picked up, I don't want to say on the cheap, but picked up towards the end of their career for the Rams. The Cowboys have a ton of young talent that are blossoming in the NFL, and they're really getting into the prime of their career. You can't really say that about a lot of Rams players. The best example, maybe Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods and Todd Gurley, but Todd Gurley's had the knee injury, and those two receivers have looked up and down a little bit this first couple weeks. So right now, I got to go Cowboys. Look like the better team and probably have more talent on them, but I think the Rams can overcome that because they have the better system and they have the smarter coaching. Did I kind of like straddle the fence there enough? Right now the Cowboys are better, but long term, at both teams playing at their best, I'd take Rams.
Talent wise, I gotta look at purely at talent. I would say offensively, it's the Rams, only because he has a little bit more receiving options for him, and really a healthy Gurley versus a healthy Elliott. I think it's a wash. When you bring in Goff and Dak, I'd probably pick Goff over Dak at this point. Receiving core, I think it's hands down, it's the Rams. Tight end, I think it's also a wash. So when you look at the receiving core and the quarterback, it's got to be the Rams. Defensively, you have in the Rams side, Aaron Donald is, in my opinion, the best player in the NFL, regardless offense or defense. In Aaron Donald, he is the best. But corners, you got an aging in Talib, you got Marcus Peters, who gives up a lot of big plays. You got an aging Eric Weddle, you got an aging Clay Matthews. Defensively for the Cowboys, they win. There's no doubt about it. Mostly young players in that Cowboys whole defensive roster. I think they had the best core of linebackers moving into the future. I'm not saying right now, but will be the best with Ertz and not Ertz, Van Der Esch and Jalen. This is literally the best linebacking core in the next couple of years. I also like their secondary and obviously DeMarcus Lawrence and getting after the quarterback. So offensively, Rams, defensively, Cowboys. It'd be a great matchup. And I think Epic Meme says, oh, no, that's the Packers. I take that back. I'd love to see them play each other. I think the Rams would like to see that like week 10 when they can get everything like fixed and working again. And the Cowboys might want it right now when everything's kind of rolling on all cylinders. A lot can change between now and then, but the Rams have not started hot. The Cowboys have. Yeah.
Just really quick. Also, Ian says that Eli on Tampa Bay or Detroit is a backup fits. Look, Eli in a couple spots is a backup fits, but nobody's going to want to pay the contract to do it, so no one's going to trade for him. They're going to wait for the Giants to either cut him or they're just going to wait out the rest of the year. I really don't see a team paying him the, $20 million he's being paid right now to bring in a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
All right. We'll move forward here. Why don't we get into, before we finish out the show, we'll get into Thursday Night Football.
Epic Memes, which I don't know who that is. I know that's not your name. He says the Packers are more talented than the Cowboys, and we'll see week 5. We will. I guess we'll see.
They might win, but I don't know that I'd say they're more talented. I think they're better coached, even with Matt LaFleur coming in. I think they have the better quarterback, hands down, in Aaron Rodgers. But I don't think Devontae Adams, whether you want to say he's better or worse than Amari Cooper, we're probably talking about marginal. And I got to give depth to the Cowboys. I mean, Randall Cobb, who used to be a Packer, I'm sure you know that, and Michael Gallup both look a lot better than Valdez Scantling or Equanimeous St. Brown. The Packers don't really have that number 2 option to keep up with what the Cowboys have. Defensively, I'm still going Cowboys here. Yeah, they've struggled a little bit, and maybe the secondary-wise, the Packers have gotten better. But up front, guys like Jalen Smith, guys like the Boise kid, whose name I can't think of.
Van
Der Esch. They have so much talent at linebacker right now in a 34 that utilizes all that talent. I got to say the Cowboys are still the better defense, even though the Packers have looked really good. The Packers have narrowed the gap. I still say talent-wise, the Cowboys are there. And quarterback is so important. The Packers could win that game. Outside of quarterback, though, the Cowboys have more talent than the Packers do.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Thursday. Because my Titans go up against the Jaguars on the road after, just like I predicted, them blowing the game against the Indianapolis Colts. Happens all the time. The Titans get humbled. I think they're going to come back. They're going to bounce back and win this game. They've owned Jacksonville 5 out of the last 6. I think they've won like 7 out of 8. They covered the spread. Look for the Titans to go down to Jacksonville. Derrick Henry in front of his home crowd because he's from Florida. I think the Titans are going to win this one. I think as tough as Gardner Minshew kind of struggled last week, it's going to be just as bad against the Titans defense that realistically is better than what the Houston Texans have.
I think this is going to be an ugly defensive game. I don't think you're going to see a lot of offense out of either one of these teams. But that being said, I believe that the Titans are going to get back on track. I believe this defense is one of the better defenses in the league. Yes, Jaguars are too, but you already got one of your best players, if not your best player, wanting to be out of that scenario. So that being said, I mean, I think the Titans win. I don't think there's a win at quarterback. I don't think there's a win at running back. You're right. People like to show up when it's their home crowd. As Derrick Henry shows up and makes himself one of the better running backs into Week 3, it's a good possibility, but the Titans win this game.
Yeah, it's going to be a close one. I think both of these teams need a win here. Jacksonville, sitting at 0-2, especially needs one. But with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, I think the Titans will be fine here. It's still going to be close because every Titans game is close, and you can never blow anybody out. But I think the running attack will be good.
Chris is seeing kind of a blow. He says Jacksonville beats Tennessee 31-17.
With who? With Jalen Ramsey causing all that hell in their locker room and everything? I'd like to see Jalen Ramsey traded before Thursday. I don't think it happens, but I'd love that. I'd love to, especially if they make that deal happen, the Titans win this game easy. But let's say Jalen Ramsey's there and he gets on track and the defense is playing as good as it is. I don't see Leonard Fournette beating up the Titans defense. He just has never really done it. They're really good against the running attack. I think the Titans will frustrate him there, and it's going to be on Gardner Minshew throwing to a bunch of second and third receivers trying to beat a secondary that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think the Titans will be too much. It'll be close because, again, Marcus will find a way to keep this close. And then the Titans win this one. You're saying 31-17. I don't know if they score 31 together. I think this is going to be like 15-14, 15-12, 17-13. I don't know. It's
10-7.
I don't think either of these teams hit 20.
10-7.
So,
I think it's going to be an ugly game. It'll be a defensive struggle. If you guys like defensive games, this is a game to watch.
Yep, exactly. Or if you just like the Titans or Jaguars. I'm sorry, but we have to sit through this on a short week, no less.
I will unfortunately watch this game. No, I'm excited to watch. I think it'll be a good game.
Exactly. All right. And Chris is saying Fournette, if he spelled it right, goes off. But when have we seen Leonard Fournette go off here lately? He's been in a slump, and he definitely has not done it against Tennessee. I know. Do we overvalue Fournette? We don't have time to go into that.
We don't.
I think we might. I think he's kind of like Jadeveon Clowney, where we saw him go off in college, and we're like, this guy's going to be the best running back ever in the NFL. And we haven't seen the success in the NFL in the same way. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's as good as everyone wants to believe Leonard Fournette is.
Right.
All right. So I think that's going to do it for the show. We've got some special thanks here, Drew. What are you most looking forward to out of all that we talked about here going forward? What did we hit on that really a team could build on? Is it Teddy Bridgewater coming in, and we're saying the Saints can make it? Is it the Steelers? Are they going to be okay with Mason Rudolph playing? Is there something that we talked about, maybe it's Daniel Jones starting, that you're looking forward to for the future?
Before I answer that, Sandy, it's always good to see you, man. He said Mario keeps trying to fly like Superman. He's going to be all done.
Can you tell it's a contract here, the way he's taking some of these hits? He's like, dude, I got to get paid.
That being said, I think the most exciting thing to see, I'm not excited about quarterbacks being hurt. I want the best players always on the field. But Minkah Fitzpatrick going to the Steelers, I'd like to see what he does for that secondary. Because for sure that was the weakest point of that defense was their secondary.
Fair enough.
Now
I
they
want to
got
see him
one of
live
their
up to the
best
pick, too.
Yeah.
Right? Because now not only did the Dolphins spend a first-round pick on you, a team spent a first round to bring you in once you played in the NFL.
Right.
At 22, I want to see this guy be a leader for a secondary that's been incredibly weak.
Right.
So the Steelers, I think, have a lot to look forward to in this trade. I'm with you on that. Let's do some special thanks here.
Guys, thank you again for all your likes, comments, and shares. It means the world to us. It helps you beat all the algorithms that we try to go against Facebook and so on and so on. It also helps us go as Sports Around the Bar. All the stuff that you guys contribute as far as your time watching us helps us push on to the next episodes and into the future of Sports Around the Bar. You guys mean the world to us. I do want to give special thanks out to all you for all the comments. But Pooks, which I love the name, by the way, Chris, Will, Frank, Jordan, Steven, Steve, Andrew, Jonah, Eric, Ian, Lewis, Ty, Chris, and Sandy.
Don't forget Epic Memes.
Epic
Thank you
Memes.
for that.
You guys are great. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
We will be back tomorrow to talk about college football and everything else going on. So I know we had some Sparty questions in there. If you have any kind of interest in that, hit us up. We're going to be talking about everything to watch last week, everything you watched last week. We're going to talk about everything to watch in the next week going forward. We're finally going to have some games worth talking about. I know I can't wait for it. So for Sports Around the Bar, I'm Jake. This is Drew. We'll see you tomorrow.